Okay, it's 10:05. Cliff, would you like to give your opening remarks?
Yes, sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Cliff. I work at London Resilience. Before we start the meeting, I just wanted to take a moment to reflect on the anniversary of the 7th October attacks in Israel from Hamas, the subsequent war in Gaza, as well as more recently at home, the challenge that we had last week with the terror attack in Manchester on a synagogue, and in Peacehaven, the suspected arson on a mosque. These are really challenging times in communities, and I just wanted to kind of note that and say we're thinking about communities, both particularly Jewish communities in London on this anniversary, as well as Muslim communities and other communities that might be affected by these horrible events that have happened. So just a word of note before we start the meeting. Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Cliff. So good morning, everyone, and a big welcome to our session on the London Resilient Communities Programme for Local Authorities. Great to see so many of you joining today, and thanks for sharing your time. My name is Ian Morris, and I'm a Community Programme Manager at Groundwork London, which is a charity working for social and environmental benefit across the capital. Also from Groundwork London on the call are Molly and Emily, and we have colleagues from programme partners at the Community Prepared Programme at Groundwork South, the British Red Cross, and the London Resilience Unit at the GLA. You'll hear from at least some of these later in the call. Just to go over a few housekeeping points, please keep mics off unless you are asked to unmute during the Q&A session at the end, but please do feel free to post questions in the chat throughout the session. We've got people monitoring the chat and they will do their best to theme these ready for people to answer when the time comes. And we should also have time to allow people to unmute and ask questions at the end. If you are asked to unmute to ask a question during the Q&A session at the end, please mute yourself again when you're finished asking your question. The session is being recorded and will be posted on the programme webpage soon afterwards to help benefit others who are unable to join today's session. Feel free to have your cameras off if you prefer, though it's always nice to see people's faces. And we'll be sending a follow-up email to everyone that registered for this call, including the slide deck that gives more information about the programme. So our guest speaker today is Katherine Richardson, who's Director of Resilience at the Greater London Authority. Katherine brings 18 years of experience in the civil service, primarily in security and resilience roles. She is currently leading the delivery of the 2025 London Resilience Strategy with a strong commitment to placing people at the heart of London's resilient efforts. So Katherine, thank you very much for sharing your time and insights with us all today. Over to you.
Thanks very much, Ian. And well, good morning, everybody. Thanks again, as Ian's just said, for joining today's session. It is really wonderful to see so many of you here from right across London's local authorities. And I'm really excited about today's session. Of course, we're marking the launch of a programme that is going to help us build on our commitment to placing people and communities at the heart of our resilience practice in London. And I want to start by thanking you and every local authority represented here today. Of course, your continued work is vital, and not just within the London Resilience Forum and that wider London Resilience Partnership, but across all of the policy areas that shape and help to strengthen London's resilience. You're the link between those formal systems and all of the community-led action. So the programme that we're launching today builds on the London Community Resilience Toolkit and a successful pilot of community resilience hubs, bringing together practical tools and local collaboration to really strengthen resilience. And it's designed to empower communities and strengthen resilience right across the capital. It's about recognising and supporting all incredible work that's already happening in our communities and really nurturing it and helping it to grow. Your support and leadership is what's going to help this programme thrive. And I also want to acknowledge the really incredibly important role that civil society organisations play. We know that resilience absolutely does not start in a control room. It doesn't start in central government or in the GLA. It starts on the ground, whether that's community centres, places of worship, food banks, WhatsApp groups, local networks. And our 2025 resilience strategy for London, that makes that really clear, that it's got to be people that are at the heart of our resilience arrangements. This programme that we're talking about today is one of the ways that we're trying to make that vision real. And we've seen how communities respond in times of crisis, whether it's a heat wave, power outage, pandemic. They step up, they support each other, they support the statutory responders, and they adapt. Communities are the first responders to any crisis, and they're usually the last ones to leave as well. And we know also that there is disparity in how our communities experience risk in emergencies. Not all communities have got the same resources or the same networks or links. And that's one of the reasons why this programme really matters. It's about equity and partnership working as well as preparedness. So through grants and training, practical tools, we're helping communities develop their own emergency plans, become resilience hubs, and build stronger local connections. And today's event is a chance to explore how we can work together to build a more resilient London, one that's inclusive, connected, and ready for the challenges ahead. Your support and leadership will help this programme thrive. So thank you again for being here, for the work that you're doing all day, every day. I'm really excited about the conversations ahead. I'll be staying for the full session and taking part. So yeah, let's dive in, explore how we can build resilience from the ground up and do that together. So I will hand over to Molly now to tell us more about the programme. Thank you.
Just before we do that, Catherine, if it's okay, just wanted to see, we don't have time at the moment to open up the floor to questions, but are there any questions from the chat, Emily, that we can theme before we just move on to Molly?
No questions at this point, just lots of nice introductions.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks, Catherine, and great that you can stay for the rest of the session, so thank you for that. Okay, going to move on now to Molly, who's my colleague at another community programme manager and Graham at London, to describe the London Resilient Communities Programme in a bit more detail. Okay, Molly, over to you.
Hello, thank you, everyone, and thank you so much, Catherine, for those words as well. So I'm just going to outline the programme, and then we'll hear very briefly, well, not very briefly, we'll hear from my colleague Henry at the British Red Cross as well, talking a bit more about the Community Resilience Hubs programme. And then we'll open up the floor to questions, so feel free to put any questions in the chat, and we'll hear a kind of summary of the questions and then have a chance for a bit of a Q&A. So this programme is a partnership between the London Resilience Unit, so part of the GLA, the British Red Cross, Communities Prepared Groundwork South and Groundwork London. And as Ian said, we've got colleagues from all those teams here. So the way that we're talking about this programme with communities is really important, because obviously we know that community organisations, faith organisations, voluntary groups, have so many challenges and pressures on them at the moment, and your role in local authorities as supporting them, is becoming more and more challenging with the current funding picture. So the kind of language and the way we're talking about the programme is that we know when there are emergencies and when things go wrong, community, voluntary and faith organisations step up and support their communities. That already happens. And that might be through providing a space to feel safe and comfortable, signposting and advice, community interpreting, social activities, community connection, mental health support, practical support, or capturing their views and feelings after an incident. And the aim of this programme is to help them feel more prepared, to help them feel prepared, a plan in place, they know who to ask for help, the information they need to make the best decisions. This isn't about putting a new burden on communities, it's about supporting them for the plans, to supporting them to plan for the things they will do. And so this programme will involve an online programme of training, and that will be available both live and recorded for later viewing. resources and templates exploring different resilience topics, from flooding to creating a community emergency plan. And to support this, there will be a tiered small grant programme open during November, so that will be when they can apply, to support them to create new community emergency plans and become community resilience hubs. So this is just a brief summary of the programme on the slide there. So when we think about community resilience, I know that there are a lot of people who have incredible expertise on this call, but again, for communities, the way we're defining it is the ability for communities to prepare for, respond to, and recover from emergencies, and the ability to experience a crisis or emergency, but have the skills, preparation, and relationships to cope with it. We're defining communities in a really broad way in this programme. So it can be geographic communities, faith communities, cultural communities, the LGBTQ plus community, those bound by a particular interest or passion, those who are disabled, those who live with ill health, those who are carers. So when you're thinking about communities that you work with and engage with in your work, when you think about the people who live in your borough, all the different bonds that we fond and all the different bonds that we form and all the different connections we have that can make up communities. So really encourage when you're promoting this program, which we're very grateful for you to do when you are, if you choose to do so, which we definitely hope you will, when you're promoting this program, really reaching out into the diversity of London communities and the different ways that people are. So not simply thinking about geographic communities, but thinking in a broader way as possible. I've written some illustrative examples of what that could be, but it could also be more than that. And that we are thinking both borough specific and then cross borough. We're thinking very small localities and then across London as well. So really great to have that diversity there. And then obviously, what does community resilience mean in practice? What are we talking about specifically? I've been, me and my colleague Ian, we've been having lots of conversations with different community organisations to promote this programme and to raise that awareness of community resilience. And obviously I'm sure we've all had that experience where you're using kind of the more technical language or the more theoretical language, but it's harder to bridge that gap. But when you explain it in practice, communities go, oh yes, that thing we would do or thing we already do in the face of emergencies. So, you know, that might be a list of people to contact. It might simply be having a signposting list that they can share. Knowing how to support with community interpreting, you know, they'll someone to come along and help out if people need someone to interpret. Holding an event to gather people together after an emergency, a listening service, mental health support, sort of with reference to what Cliff mentioned around challenges overseas or tragedies overseas, that incredible support for diaspora communities whose friends and family are dealing with emergencies, war, terrorism, and that role that diaspora communities, community organisations play. And then holding a listening session to capture views and experiences, using kind of amplifying the experiences of their users to local authorities like yourselves. And then finally becoming a community resilience hub. So these are the kind of ways that communities can provide support. And crucially, the activities communities will sort of plan to undertake are inspired by what they already do or what they would do or what they have done. We're not asking organisations, when we're asking them to reflect on community resilience, to radically change their structure or their activities. We may have remembered this phrase from COVID-19, that we're all in the same storm, but in very different boats. And we know, of course, that we don't live in an equal society, and COVID-19 and other emergencies have made that clearer than ever. And we know that communities which are affected by racism, ill health, anti-Semitism, and other religious prejudices, disability, poverty, and poor housing are first and worst affected by the challenges that we face. And we really want to connect with groups who are less heard, less supported, and who have more struggles. And we know their strength and resilience can bring so much to the programme, and we want to support communities to build on the resilience which they already have to feel more confident in responding to emergencies. And that is a plea to local authorities as much as possible, is to support us with promoting the programme specifically to these groups, in addition to have as many people as possible, to really hear from a diversity of organisations when they apply, and also in the engaging in the programme generally. So just that little bit of context of how did we get here. So I think that we're living in a time of increasing emergencies. We can think about the impact of terrorism, war overseas, and then the growing impact of climate change, the impact of the cost of living crisis, which reduces that kind of resilience overall. And we know that communities respond to help those in need in emergencies, and that, they already play that role in emergencies. And this programme builds, as Katherine mentioned, on 3 previous projects funded by the GLA London Resilience Unit. So the London Resilience Toolkit, the Community Resilience Hub's Venue Mobilisation Programme, and also our Climate Connected Communities Programme, which is wrapping up now, but which you'll hear more about later on. And one thing we've had in all of the conversations we've had, and I'm sure that you in your roles working with communities have heard, that they need more support to engage in this resilience work. That needs to be things like training and resources. We also have to think about funding. So this programme is really in response to that. And what we want to achieve in really simple terms is communities to create community emergency plans, kind of using that, building on the Community Resilience Toolkit. And that venues that serve communities become, or slowly become, community resilience hubs, that they take those steps. And these are our kind of aims, but it's really important for us that the engagement in the programme is led by communities with their interests, priorities and values being integral to the work undertaken. So while we've got quite specific aims in what we want to achieve, the ways that will look will be different for different communities, but it will be, everyone will have the same kind of access to the tools and resources to learn how to do it. And then we will give as many grants as we can to really encourage that engagement and to support communities to take those steps in engaging in this programme. And so again, in more detail of what this programme will involve, the main thrust of this programme is an online training programme with resources and templates, including a webinar series. And then in addition to that, there'll be a tiered small grant scheme, which we will make the application process for as easy as possible to support communities to engage in these, to sort of contribute towards the costs of engaging in these activities. And as the programme progresses, as well as us providing those knowledge and skills for communities, we'll also learn from them, which will feed into a review of the London Community Resilience Toolkit, and we'll also engage with the London Resilience Equalities Partnership, so that we can really hear from communities who are trying these things out, testing them out, to improve and refine what the programme and the resilience materials that have already been created. So our programme values are that this programme is supported. We've got the training resources. It's community-led, it's shaped by community priorities and values, and it's impactful. So we want to empower groups across London to make a difference at scale. And the aim of this journey is to start something. This is the start of a journey towards all communities feeling prepared and resilient. And we know that it's not necessarily gonna, we know that there's more to go, there's always further we can go, but that's, I feel like this is a really exciting time where we're starting off making a change across London with engaging with all sorts of different organisations, and we'd really love your support with that. as well. So this is a brief timeline of the programme. So we're in what we're calling the engagement phase. The grant scheme opens and closes in November. Then we'll assess applications and inform applicants in December. And then the dates in spring will be 100% confirmed when later on this month, but that's the sort of outline of what will be happening in the spring and then into the summer. So open to everyone, and everyone will have access to this. It's monthly webinars on different topics and themes to increase knowledge and skills on community resilience, and resources and templates to support the development of the community emergency plans and organisations becoming community resilience hubs. And then this is just a little detail about the grants. I should have said earlier that I'd be sharing the slides, because that is always the question. If you think, well, do I have to note all this down? I'll be sharing the slides, and this is being recorded as well. So we've got what we're calling the toolkit grant, which is around creating that community emergency plan, which is a small grant, but the activity is following that community emergency plan template and then engaging in the webinars at your own capacity. And then there's a hub grant, which has a little bit more of an expectation because that's around developing a space that can be used as a community resilience hub. I'm going to talk very briefly about community resilience hubs, and then I'll pass on over to my colleague, Henry. So it's important to share that this is in addition to and supporting official rest centres. So the civil contingencies rest centres. I put here desire paths because one way I've been thinking about it, I don't know if people have heard of the concept of desire paths. You may have seen, you know, if you're in a park, there's the official path that everyone should be walking along, and then there's a desire path where people just cut across the grass and walk there. And maybe that's one way of thinking about community resilience hubs, that in an emergency, people go to places where they feel safe, have relationships, and trust staff and volunteers. That includes community centres, cultural spaces, and places of worship. People kind of respond to those desires and needs. And we can reflect on, you know, in the conversations I've had with people at community organisations where I've been talking about emergency, I've raised, like, if there was an emergency locally, you as a community venue, community centre, people would be coming to your door. And people said, oh yes, everyone will be coming to charge their phone to get a drink of water. So again, this is about supporting organisations to prepare to do something that will already be something they're thinking about, already something that they know might happen. And that role is to, you know, that trusted local spaces can be resourced and empowered to become community resilience hubs, and to expand on that role as trusted community-owned spaces so they can play a role in preparedness, response and recovery. I won't go into detail on these, but as Katherine mentioned, myself at Groundwork London, my colleague Alice, who's on the call, and colleagues from Groundwork South, Communities Prepared, and also colleagues from the British Red Cross were part of a pilot project to explore community resilience hubs. Here are some learnings that we've had from that, and the report is going to be published very shortly, and that will be shared. And our findings just specifically on that programme for local authorities are that local authorities are vital partners in developing community resilience hubs, and community resilience hubs complement, not replace, those formal emergency responses. It's really important that we build that trust and engagement, and in this project we'll be building those relationships with community venues. It's about support and guidance, not necessarily leadership. It's about empowering communities to kind of decide what they want to do with the support and structure and guidance. And this will strengthen preparedness and response and enable sustainable community-led, community-owned mobilisation. So that's just a brief summary of what we've learned from the programme and what will be published in the report. Now I'll hand over to my colleague Henry from the British Red Cross to talk about their role in this programme, in particular related to community resilience hubs.
Thank you very much, Molly. Thanks. And thanks so much, everyone, for joining. Can people hear me okay? Just give me a wave.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Amazing. Thank you. I've had some microphone trouble this morning. So many people on the call, so thank you so much for joining to hear more about the program. We are really excited to be a partner in this program as well. So I'm here today representing the British Red Cross. We are one of 191 national societies operating around the world. And the British Red Cross has been around in the UK for over 150 years. So we have a long history of supporting people through crisis, from single household emergencies like domestic fires to community level emergencies like flooding events to national emergencies such as the COVID-19 pandemic. Our work is grounded in the principles of humanity and impartiality, and we're committed to helping communities prepare for, respond to, and recover from whatever challenges they face. These recent years, as we've heard a little already this morning, have seen an uptick in uncertainty and emergencies and chronic crises, which have both highlighted existing vulnerabilities, but also revealed the strength of communities. So as Molly said, we are supporting the hubs element of the GLA's London Resilience Communities programme because we believe that resilience starts locally in the places that people already know and trust. We see hubs as a vital opportunity to strengthen community-led preparedness by helping to create spaces where people can access support, grow their knowledge, build relationships, and take an active role in shaping their own response to future emergencies. By sharing our knowledge and expertise with communities and by leading tabletop exercises to help put that knowledge to the test, we hope that communities will feel more prepared to face crises if and when they happen in their areas. Our interest in this work is rooted in sharing our expertise in crisis response, not just during emergencies, but in the quieter moments before and after when the foundations of resilience are built. So we want to help communities feel confident, connected, and capable of responding to disruption in ways that reflect their own strengths and needs. And as I said, we're really excited to work alongside local authorities and other partners to help shape hubs that are inclusive, practical, and genuinely useful in times of crisis. And thanks very much. Molly, back to you.
Thank you so much, Henry. Thank you. So I'm just going to finish off this bit of the presentation and then we'll jump to questions. So hopefully I'm sharing the right screen. Fantastic. So amazing to hear from you and to be working with you. So this is finally like, what is the role of the local authorities in this? What is the role of local authorities for this programme? So obviously our aim is to support community organisations, voluntary organisations, faith organisations, but local authorities obviously going to play a really key role for us in promoting it. But we do know how stretched local authorities are, and we see their role in supporting this piece of work as through your normal streams of work. It's not the intention that local authority has additional work as a result of this programme. It's to complement activity that is already ongoing and the amazing work that's happening in local authorities and in community resilience led by local authorities currently. So our calls to action are sign up to the programme, and that's how you hear about updates to share with partners. Somebody I saw in the chat has asked about, oh, is there slides? Are there, are there graphics that we can share? That's music to our ears. Don't worry, you'll have as many graphics as you need to share with community members. Promote the programme, and we are again really keen to hear from groups where they're less likely to have capacity to engage in these formal structures, where there are those additional challenges that we've already raised, and we want to make this process as easy as possible for smaller, less formal groups to apply for. Attending the webinars that will be held on the different resilience topics where possible, when that would be amazing, and building those relationships, exploring and building relationships with community resilience hubs. And what we're just saying, like, welcome hearing about community emergency plans, which I'm sure you will do. If, a local estate group, if a local place of worship comes up with their community emergency plan, we'll encourage them to share it with you. We'll ask them to send it to you. And obviously, I'm sure you'll be very excited to hear that local small organisations are really engaged in thinking about resilience. So that's the role that we see local authorities in playing. And that's the end of this kind of information section. I think what I'd finally say is through this programme, local faith and community organisations will be upskilled and empowered to engage in community resilience. And I think this is such an opportunity within kind of the capacity of those community organisations. It would be really great to explore how they can also champion community resilience through other channels. So I'd say, making the most of this opportunity so that you're really championing these people with your comms teams, really sharing their experiences and point of view. So I feel like there's a great opportunity for everyone and really exciting to see so many people on the call today. So now I'm going to hand over to Ian for the Q&A section.
Thank you, Molly, and thanks, Henry, also. So, yeah, we've got some time for Q&A about the programme. I think we'll just start to see if there's any unanswered questions in the chat. Emily, are you able to share if there's any questions that have not been answered in the chat first before we open the floor?
Yeah, I can go through a few questions. First one, is there a limit to the number of communities that can be supported in any one London local authority area? And following up from that, can we apply for funding for multiple community hubs/plans as part of a broader programme of resilience? So rather than having a single community resilience hub, we have multiple which are linked up with each other.
Yeah, I mean, I think as Millie's from the GLA has said in the chat, the criteria and the related documents to the grant will be published next month when we open the grant window. I think it's on the 3rd of November on the Monday. So full details should emerge from that. I think also we will be looking for a diversity of applicants geographically as well as in all of the respects as well. I don't know. Millie or Molly or anybody else, if you want to add to that.
I would say that this applying for the grant scheme will be for community organisations and faith organisations, and it will be led by them. And so local authorities will play that supportive role in this programme. But I don't know if any GLA colleagues want to come in as well on that question, or should we move on?
If Michael is on the call, maybe he can add a little bit about the hubs project on this one. If not, happy to move on to the next question.
I'm glad to add anything that is useful. I see there was a question addressed to me, but it was written before I joined. Apologies for being late. So I'm not entirely sure what the question was. Is there anything specific that the person that wrote the question would like to ask?
So I'll read it out.
Yeah.
Can we apply? Oh, no, not at all. Can we apply for funding for multiple community hubs plans? So in answer to that question, not from a local authority point of view.
Yeah.
And then they've said, so rather than having a single community resilience hub, we have multiple which are linked up with each other.
So we will soon issue the criteria for applying. There is a certain numbers of grants being issued. The applications need to be made by organizations that run venues. It might be that there are very strong applications from the same boroughs, which might allow, if this question is coming from someone from a specific local authority, I'm hoping I'm answering in the right way. Yes, it might be that two grantees are in the same borough, and that might allow that local authority to build a little bit of an ecosystem around this program. But of course, there is no guarantee. We will assess each application on its own merit. I hope this helps us answering the question.
Thank you, Michaeli. And also just to say, if we don't get to your question in time, we'll do a follow-up email with any unanswered questions in the chat as well. Back to you for the next question, Emily.
Do you have a rough idea on how much time officers would need to spend on this project? We do not have an adaptation officer, so it would be great to have a rough idea in order to understand who should be engaged within the council.
Shall I go again, maybe, if I can start saying something?
Yes, please.
So this project is based on a pilot that we ran. We are now publishing the report on that pilot, and I think reading that report can help local authority colleagues to better understand what is their role in the requirement. We do not expect local authority colleagues to take on extra work. This is about building trust, connections, and channels of communications between venues that want to play a better role in resilience and the appropriate function in the local authority. So in that pilot, we asked applicants to demonstrate that they had touched base with the local authority and made them aware of the application. And we want to use this as an opportunity to further those relationships rather than giving our colleagues any extra work.
Thank you, Michaeli. Emily,
sorry, yeah. So no, it's okay, Molly. Feel free to jump in. Yeah, I was just about to say the same thing. Emily, could you just let us know what the next question is?
Yeah. Will you be able to share a list of organisations within our borough that have successfully applied for grants or to be hubs to ensure that we can engage with them as soon as possible if we aren't already aware?
So it's Michaeli said for community resilience hubs, we'll invite organisations to get in touch. And I mean, unless colleagues want to come in, that certainly feels like maybe a step we'll add to the programme to ensure that that happens and build that communication, obviously asking organisations consent to let you know when they apply.
Just to come in and to add to what Molly is saying, we'll absolutely share the list. And not just that, we'll also connect you to these organizations in your borough. We're very keen for those relationships to be built and for you to know what projects are doing and for you to support them where possible with their projects.
Great. Thanks, Emily and Molly. Emily, the next question.
Will the capabilities that hubs offer and the communities that plans cover be mapped centrally to identify gaps? And is there a longer term plan for the continued development of hubs? Is there a certification scheme to ensure standards?
Michaeli, are you happy to come in?
We are designing the hubs project so that it has different segments, and we will have some degree of quality assurance for each. At the moment, we don't have a plan to immediately design a continuation of this program, but there will be resources for participants to design their future mobilization in a sustainable way. And that means essentially having capacity to raise funds and link to potential extra resources that are there going into the future. This is the plan for the time being.
Great.
In terms of the wider community resilience program, as Katherine said, this is at the heart of our resilience strategy at the moment, and it's an area we're very keen to invest in and continue supporting. So we're constantly thinking about, the next iteration of our various community resilience programs and sustainability of them. So watch this space. It's very much a start of a journey, and we are committed to this path.
Great. Thanks, Michaeli and Emily. Emily, next question.
We had one about evaluation. Who will be required to carry out due diligence for the applicants in our area? Also, is there a need to evaluate, and who will be responsible for that?
So Groundwork London and project partners will be designing the eligibility criteria, and we will then do that assessment. So there's no expectation of local authorities supporting with that at this for this programme. And the evaluation will also be led by us. And so we won't, as we've said, we won't be expecting like additional work from local authorities, but a great question and understand how stretched everyone is.
Yeah. Thank you, Molly. Emily, next question.
I think that might be everything that was asked in the chat.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we've got a good amount of time to open the floor to questions now. I think if people want to use the usual raise hand function, and then we'll try and get to people in the order that they raise their hand for whatever time we've got left. It'd be good to focus on programme questions, but we've still got Katherine with us if anybody wants to ask Katherine a question related to her presentation.
Anyone doesn't know, if you click react and then raise hand, you'll see raise hand.
Yeah. Have we silenced everybody? I think just to say also, in response to an early question, just to kind of clarify that the thrust of this programme is really to empower communities in the longer term to be able to produce community emergency plans and also create community resilience hubs on their own. So the grants programme is an important part of that to try and catalyse and support that. But the longer term vision is to have a programme webpage where people have got videos which are recorded as well as templates, so they can actually kind of produce these documents and prepare themselves without grant support as well. So that really is the kind of the thrust of the programme. Richard, do you want to come in?
I think Simon was first, actually.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's
Apologies.
right.
Sorry. Thank you.
Come in, Simon Bishop.
Sorry, it was just a question about you talked a lot about what you will fund. I guess do you have any idea of what you won't fund as well, or is that a more difficult question? Yeah, are there any exclusions? Just wondered. Perhaps that's go on.
Well, full eligibility criteria will be published. I think one thing about this program is we're looking to fund like a very wide diversity of organizations, and we are aware it's a small grant, so we don't want to put too much expectations on people. We're very specifically funding organizations to do the kind of two tasks of that community emergency plan and the community resilience hub. So in a sense, it's very narrow. So we're not expecting communities to come up with a project plan that is, very different from what we're asking. Does that answer the question, or is there? Or come in, Millie.
Yeah, I was just going to add to what you said, Molly. These are public funds, so we won't fund for-profit organization or political organizations, leaning towards either side of the political divide. Those are the sorts of things we know for sure will not be funded. But as Molly says, detail of the eligibility criteria will be published once the program goes live. The funding bit of it in November.
If groundwork colleagues could help me out in terms of who's next, because I can't seem
I think it's Richard.
I think it's Richard now, isn't it? Richard, go ahead. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm quite new in post within Croydon as their lead for resilience and emergency management. Some of you know me already, so we won't go over that bit. But the situation for the borough is that there is a lack of engagement at the moment with the voluntary and community sector and the general population. So I totally 100% am behind the package of that you're putting together. We just aren't quite at that point to be able to engage the community in that way. So where I was going to go with it was, is there going to be a second tranche? Is there going to be a tranche next year to do with this? Because, as I say, I want community hubs set up within the borough, fully on board with that. We just need to identify community groups and individuals that would be interested in doing that. So that's what I'll say.
So thanks, Richard. It's really lovely to see you on this call today. Yeah, I think as I said before, our commitment to wider community resilience programs across London is there, and we are thinking about sustainability and what we do next. So that commitment is very much there. I'm afraid I'm not able to commit to confirm plans for the next iteration of this particular program. However, I would encourage you to use this as a vehicle to start that engagement with community. So, as a start, in Croydon, this could be one of the things you consider to do in your borough, and then watch this space for what happens next and how that can support plans that you're putting in place in Croydon. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, no, that's great, thanks. It sort of reassures the direction of travel.
That's right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Millie. So I think Joanne Marples is next. Thanks, Molly, for letting me know that.
Hiya, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, good. Okay. I just was going to put my camera off, but just trying, oh yeah, it's down the bottom. So used to Teams, aren't we normally? No, I think this is great. Just like to say hello to everyone, and obviously Richard at Croydon. I just started at Southwark Council in May, so I'm an emergency planning and resilience officer. So this is really interesting, sort of, because part of one of my work streams is to get more engaged within the communities of Southwark. And I actually live in Kent and worked in Kent. One of the roles I did a few years ago was emergency planning resilience over in Maidstone. So I sat under the Kent Resilience umbrella. And we were very much engaged because obviously out in places like Kent, everything is rural. So parish and ward councillors actually worked sort of alongside us in emergencies, but they were our foot in the door, if you like, into a lot of community interaction. And like one particular thing, which some of you may remember, 2013, the flooding in Little Venice, which was a caravan park in Yaldham. On Christmas Day, 8 people had to be rescued, and that actually sort of pushed a massive opportunity for Maidstone at that time. I actually worked under that manager a few years later, to sort of engage with the community. And part of that pushed forward a massive thing on flooding and preparedness for that, which is one of my passions, because in Maidstone, that is one of the main things that happens, flooding, and a lot of it's rural. So the Environment Agency was engaging and training volunteers up to take roles within the community when they were flooded, and empowering them with road closures and all of those sorts of things that they needed to do. So there was a lot of different community resilience that was built up. And sort of when I was planning to introduce more bottled water stations across Maidstone, which started with 8 and ended up in 80 plus, but there was a great opportunity there. Again, like communities were, oh, well, yeah, you can have the water dropped here, but, the landlord was there and saying, but I'll help deliver it to the people I know are vulnerable in the village and stuff. So it's really great to see this, because I've got this big task of getting to know all of the communities across Southwark. And I just think, yeah, I can't wait to sign up and hopefully do some good for Southwark in bringing some communities together and helping empower them for preparedness, because that's my biggest passion, people being prepared for things. So.
Yeah. Thank you, Joanne. Really lovely to have you on the call. And just to take the opportunity to shamelessly plug another program that we have, which for new starters like you and Richard in your boroughs would be a really good place to start. We funded the Community Resilience Fund program. It's funded all 32 London boroughs, plus the City of London. I'm happy to link you up with the project we funded at the time. I think yours was in round 2. And, for you to start having those conversations, see what has happened and where else you could take it. Yeah. Welcome.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, great.
I'll pop my email address in the chat if anybody wants to reach out directly.
Great. Thanks, Joanne, for all that enthusiasm, and thanks, Millie. Gareth, I think you're next.
Yeah, morning all. So Gareth Morgan from the Westminster Resilience team. I think many of you probably already know my colleague, Michelle, who works in my team. So just a couple of quick points from me. So it'd be really helpful if we could have that Community Resilience Hubs report shared, just to understand kind of what the outcomes of that were. and what kind of lessons we can look at from that. We're already doing quite a lot locally. Obviously, we got the funding earlier this year. Michelle's been doing some great work externally with some of our VCS partners and putting on lots of events and things. We also have, I'll just share in the chat there, set up a local kind of community preparedness hub on our website with lots of information, advice, guidance for our local communities already. So doing it at very much a borough level. There is also a local hubs project already taking place, so a community hubs project in Westminster already delivering that locally through our communities directorate. So that's already happening. And it'd be interesting to understand how that works with these hubs and the Westminster Council supported hubs who are already doing that support locally. Additionally, we've already got a consultation out around our community resilience strategy. So we're looking at how we kind of embed some of these things locally, having a framework going forwards as a council. So building some of this work in that's coming from a regional level into that local strategy would be helpful to understand a bit more of a long-term plan for some of these things. And I guess the ask for me is, what are those expectations around the hubs once they have been identified and set up? Obviously, you've got the funding in place. What's the intentions of what they will actually be delivering? And I know there was mention of that might be a location people would come to during an emergency. How do you foresee that working in practice when we've got already kind of identified, established emergency centres set up in the borough? We've already got a lot of kind of existing arrangements in place. If we have additional community hubs set up and making sure we're kind of tied in with them during the emergency, not kind of duplicating and trying to spread our resources too thinly when we're actually trying to respond to something. Has that been thought through?
Thanks, Gareth. I know there's definitely a plan to share the report once that's finalised, and one of the things that we can send out in the follow-up email to this is there's like 4 slides which summarise the key learnings, so we can send that as a follow-up email. And like I say, I know the report's going to be shared once that's finalised. Michele, do you want to come in on those other questions that Gareth asked?
Yeah, no, thank you, Gareth. Those are very useful observations. We know that different boroughs and local authorities are at different points in their journeys in engaging communities, and there have been many conversations about setting up hubs in these different parts of London. I think that there is no one size that fits all. So this project does not want to impose a model on any particular London borough. You are very welcome to make this project work for you. So if you want to encourage any of the organizations that are already on that journey with you to also apply for this funding, this is an opportunity to, again, further those relationships and make them work in the framework of what you're trying to set up in Westminster, which I know is very interesting and very much advanced.
Yeah. And just to add, thank you, Michele. And just to add, it's about complementing your statutory arrangements, what's already in place. It's not being replaced. It's about complementing what's there and actually leveraging what communities are already doing on the ground. We've seen this time and again in many emergencies, you know, those trusted voices are places people also go to because those relationships exist, because, and we want to support that to complement what's in place, what you've arranged. But if you wanted to have a further conversation about this to address any specific questions you might have about this, Michele and I am more than happy to arrange a call with you.
Yeah, I think just ahead of releasing additional funding, it would be helpful to see those reports to understand what the feedback was and allow us as practitioners to kind of challenge and review what those assumptions are locally, because obviously just going through and then releasing funding prior to us seeing the report is challenging. And then also how we implement that locally. I know we saw post Grenfell where we were supporting Kensington. They had multiple people evacuated. They went into community locations, which is fantastic that community stepped in to provide that support. But the borough at that point then really struggled to identify where people had gone to because those relationships weren't in place. So adding this on top of existing kind of statutory shelters and locations we could send people to is just how that joins up. We need to think that through really carefully.
Absolutely. Yeah, I put my email address in the chat if you want to email me, Gareth, and then we can take this conversation offline. Yeah, happy to answer any questions you have.
Great. Okay, we've got a minute left. Joanne, do you want to come in and ask the last question or share what you want to share?
Yeah, I'll be really quickly. Sort of partly actually to do with what Gareth just mentioned. So we had a fire in Bourne House in July, and our emergency centre manager couldn't work out where everyone had gone. And obviously, the police had got a site open already. It was quite a big space to use. London Fire Brigade filled us in after the event, so a lot of people had gone to the pub because it was sort of schools had finished and time, so people just went off. But we didn't know where people had gone. Can people sign up to this using the toolkit, but they don't have to apply for the grant? So, because otherwise there's only a small pot of money. So we can get other people to sign up and use the toolkits and stuff, and also link in with us because obviously if there's only a small amount of money. So that we can use this as an exercise to kind of reach out to other community places where people may go when disbursement's kind of in the daytime hours. And that just kind of gives us another sort of opportunity to link in with the community.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I mean, yeah, like I say, the thrust of the program really is to empower communities to either use the toolkit to produce community emergency plans independently, or use the resources that will be there in the slightly longer term, the recordings and the templates, to become community resilience hubs. That's the thrust of the program, to allow people to do that independently and outside of the grant program. So absolutely, people can do that. Molly or Millie, feel free to add on that if you think I've missed something.
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Amazing.
Great. Okay. So we've come to the end of the session. We want to respect people's time, so we'll need to bring this to a close. Thanks a lot to, I know she just dipped off the call, but thanks a lot to Katherine Richardson, and thanks to everyone that's joined for showing an interest in sharing their time today. Thanks also to Molly and Henry for presenting the programme. We'll follow up the calls to action, which Molly outlined at the end of the presentation. That would be great, and we'll be in touch with a follow-up email with those promised attachments soon as well. So thanks very much for your time, everybody, and goodbye from us.
Yeah, thank you.